Wake me up when September ends. Welcome back for another week of Palmetto Playbook. I'm Alan Marcus Harder.
I'm TJ Turner.
Not the best weekend, again, is deja vu for South Carolina and Clemson, but we are starting with finally some good news in the college football world for the Palmetto State.
We got some good news in CCU. CCU got a good win this week, South Alabama. I will say last week we were not speaking very highly of the team. We did not expect them to pull this one off, but they pulled it off, and it seems like Tim Beck has definitely put his firing on the back burner.
Yeah, this is the team that I think Chant Nation was hoping for, like coming into this season. There was a lot of promise coming into the season. It's a shame that it took 3 games for them to finally play like this, but it's definitely a promising sign for the future. Let's see. Hopefully, this isn't just like a one-off type thing, and actually they can keep this momentum going. Tad Hudson had 3 total touchdowns. The defense played really well. That Black Swarm defense that kind of like under the Jamie Chadwell era. But, yeah.
Yeah, they had a nice defensive touchdown. We just showed up there on the screen. They had 5 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. It's hard to lose a game when you're doing that defensively. Tad Hudson, 3 total touchdowns, but only 112 passing yards.
He did what he needed to do to get the job done.
It was enough to win. As long as you score more points than the other team, the quarterback played well.
Yeah. Tim Beck, there was a lot of, I'd say a lot, he downplayed it the week coming into this, but it's kind of hard to not see that there was a lot of pressure on him to get this team going. He had a lot of hype to live up to coming this season, considering what he had to say a month before the season. I think we'll roll that start right now.
As a collective group, probably the whole team, to be honest, might be as good a team as we've had.
Yeah, those are definitely some high words to live up to, especially when you consider the team that he had when he first came here with Grayson McCall, Braden Bennett, Jared Brown. But hopefully this is a sign that things are changing.
Yeah, that team he took over, I feel like I would have thought personally that team would definitely have more talent coming into the year. He had a lot of confidence coming into the year, especially with the defense.
Yeah.
And it looks like the defense is finally coming into form this past week, and we'll see if they can carry that on in 2 weeks because they're off this next week.
Yeah, which is probably a good thing. Keep this high momentum going. It's definitely a great thing to go into a bye week with a win instead of a loss. Just hopefully they can keep this momentum going.
Yeah, especially opening up Sun Belt play with a win over South Alabama.
Yeah.
South Alabama usually is pretty good in there. They're usually kind of middle of the pack to the top of their side of the Sun Belt, but they're usually a high-scoring offense.
Yeah.
They're usually scoring a lot of points each week, but South Alabama holding them to 20 and 5 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. Can't ask for a better game from the defense. Now, you could ask for a better game from Clemson.
Yeah. It's about the same the same story, different week. Clemson looking very bad in the first half, trying to make a comeback in the second half. Mother Nature trying to give them an hour and a half extra time to figure things out. Still not good enough.
Yeah, they've had more rain delays this year than they have wins.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kate Klubnik, he put up some numbers this past week. I mean, when you throw 60 times in a game, you're going to put up some numbers. I mean, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Played pretty well. They just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think a part of the reason he had those high numbers is because when you're playing from behind the entire game, it's kind of hard to get the run game going when you're having to try to basically play catch up the entire game.
Yeah.
But fair play to Syracuse for going out there. Everyone was looking at Clemson to try to rebound after Georgia Tech. Syracuse was having none of that. Put that to bed real quick, and played really well to get that win in Death Valley.
Yeah, I mean, we thought this game was going to be the one that turned the season around for Clemson, and it looks like it's just putting them in a deeper hole. I mean, it's really hard at this point in the season to go with this many losses to start the year. 1 win. I don't know if are we seeing the end of an era in Clemson?
Yeah, it's starting to look like it. I'm pretty sure this 1-3 start for Clemson is the worst under Dabo Swinney when he took over. Almost, I guess I don't know the exact year, but almost 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a lot of things that Clemson needs to work on to get back on the right track.
There's a lot of talk over there about Dabo's future as well. Dabo doesn't seem concerned about it. Last week they asked him, and he he said all he does is win.
Which I
mean,
mean,
I don't know if you could.
It's hard to get rid of it. I mean, as much as I don't like Clemson, it's hard to get rid of a coach when he's won 8 of the last 10 conference championships. Literally, he built the standard at Clemson. When he came in, granted they had a national championship in the 80s, but when he came into Clemson, he built the standard. The reason they're on that national stage is because of him. Everyone trying to say Clemson's not living up to the standard, he's literally the one that got him to that point. Yeah. But when you're paying him $10 million a year as one of the highest paid coaches in the year, you want some results to go along with that.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to fire a guy like Dabo Swinney. You have to kind of wait for him to be done himself. Kind of like what we saw. I mean, you can't really compare anybody to Nick Saban, but if you're going to compare anybody in today's game, it would be Dabo.
He's the closest we got right now.
Yeah, I think you've got to wait for him to be done himself. I don't think might be at the end of this year. Granted, seeing how the rest of the season goes, but I could see him sticking around. Plus, I think it's going to be on his terms. I don't think Clemson's going to get rid of him.
It's definitely going to be on his turn. It's not like, I mean, I know there's talks about him not, adapting to the game, but he technically, I mean, coming into this season, everyone thought Clemson was a national championship contender. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like he lost he did well recruiting. He got some guys out of the portal, probably one of their best defensive players. I'm blanking on his name. I can't remember exactly where he came from. I think from a Big Ten school or something like that. But so it's not like he's trying to change the game. But this season has gone the complete opposite direction.
Dabo has struggled since the scope of college football changed. That first year, he told everyone, "I'm not doing the portal. I refuse to do it. We built this program on recruiting." And then that season, I believe they won 6 or 7 games.
Something like that.
And then he started adapting. And then this season, he put together one of the best rosters he's had. Before the season, they were talking about that roster being compared to the Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson teams, but they just haven't lived up to the hype this far. And speaking of living up to the hype, South Carolina.
Or not living up to the hype, I guess we could say.
South Carolina loses another one. I will say this past weekend against Missouri, a ranked opponent, bouncing off that loss to Vanderbilt, they did show some promise in this one, especially Lenore Sellers coming back and putting up the numbers he did.
It's hard for me to say it looks promising. Coming into this season, for South Carolina to have any type of success, they needed to go 5-0 through these first 5 games. Mm-hmm. We're not even at the 5th game yet, and we've already got 2 losses. This has been a fall from basically South Carolina and Clemson are doing their best. Who can look the worst in the state of South Carolina? We're both in a competition to beat last year's Florida State, to fall from the top 25. We're both proven to be overrated right now. Granted, this was a 9-point loss, but this is a game that South Carolina should have won. They needed to win, and I don't see how things can go much higher right for the rest of the season.
I think that Clemson South Carolina game at the end of the year is gonna be a bloodbath. After
this is I was thinking to myself, that game at the end of the season might be in violation of the 8th Amendment, a cruel and unusual punishment. Nobody wants to see these 2 teams play. They're both but let's put it bluntly, they're both trash right now. South Carolina's defense, I guess tackling is optional. Their offensive line's treating this like the Oprah show. You go to sack, everyone gets a tackle for loss. It's hard to get a run game when literally we just got an open door policy. It's a mess right now.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about that offensive line in that run game. Overall, -9 rushing yards in this past game. I will say I am not a fan of how they count sacks in college football. I do not believe that should count as negative rushing yards against a quarterback, but that's just me.
Sellers, you mentioned earlier, he had flashes of greatness. He made some great throws, but you got to learn to throw the ball away instead of running 20 yards in the opposite direction and taking a sack, especially when you're in the end zone. Some growing pains for sure. Hopefully things we can learn on moving forward, but yeah, there's plenty of times where the offense just stalled because Sellers just either not having enough time to get rid of the ball or thinking he could outrun the defense and but losing 20 yards in the process. But I will give Missouri credit. Their running back, Ahmad Hardy, I believe is his name, he looked really good. this game, just bouncing off a defender, stiff arming, making it South Carolina had no answer for him for the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri's running game's been kind of the backbone of that team throughout the year. And last year they had a running back. I can't remember his name.
I can't remember either.
Can't remember his name, but he was putting up some numbers last year, and they've got a couple running backs over there now. They've got Harlem Berry, Ahmad Hardy. They're kind of running back by committee this year, but then this past game, I mean, you saw was it Harlem Berry or Ahmad Hardy that was throwing everybody around this game?
Well, honestly, both of them. I know Hardy. He had that really great touchdown where he like ran into the defense, basically just bounced off and went in. But yeah. Both of their running backs had a really good game.
They've been playing well all year, both running backs, and I just think that they're going to keep that going. Missouri's definitely turned things around in that program over the past about, I would say, 3 to 4 years, and they're definitely not at the bottom of the pack. You used to think Missouri, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, teams like that. Missouri's kind of gotten themselves out of the basement, you could say, in the SEC.
Yeah. We'll definitely have that basement game coming up this weekend, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that at the end. And then sticking with college football, I mean, Florida State's been the story of the year so far. Coming into the year, 2-10 last year. They had zero expectations from the media, but a lot of expectations based off what their quarterback was saying before the season.
Yeah.
And then came into the season, beating Alabama, which at any point from any team is going to be a big game. And then they've just gone on a rampage after that. This week, I mean, put up 66 points against Kent State. Granted, Kent State's not a great opponent, and they'll get into conference play, but 66 points is gonna show some numbers each week.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there was a lot of talk from Florida State coming into the season, and I don't think anyone really had them on their radar, especially how they finished last season. But they're continuing to prove it each and every week that they belong where they're at right now. Yeah, great start to the season for them.
Yeah, Tommy Castellanos, I mean, before the season, all that talk, everybody was like, oh, this guy couldn't start at Boston College. There's no way he's going to do anything now at Florida State. There's just something to be said about having the confidence and the moxie to say something like that and then back it up coming into the season. I think right now he's, if not the top contender for the Heisman, he's definitely in the top 3 to 5.
There, yeah.
You've got John Mateer from Oklahoma. and then you've got him. You've got Garrett Nussmeier, who has LSU playing well. Nussmeier hasn't quite found his form yet, but you've got all those guys competing for the Heisman Trophy right now. And then another game that we had to look forward to, high-scoring game this past week, was Indiana and Illinois, which was a top 25 matchup, both teams. Indiana ranked 19th, Illinois ranked 9th. You'd think it'd be a close game, Big Ten matchup, and then you've got a 63-10 game. Illinois just couldn't handle anything Indiana was throwing at them this week.
Yeah, I'll give Indiana a lot of credit because, I mean, last year I didn't really think that they went undefeated in the regular season, but there's a lot to be said about their schedule, like a easier schedule compared to the rest of the playoff contenders. This year, they looked the part in this game for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you score 63 points, I mean, that's hard to get mad about.
Yeah, let alone against the top 10 opponent.
Yeah, that as well. And I mean, they play 2 weeks from now. I think they play at Oregon and they have at Penn State the rest of the season. If they can play like this against those two teams, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think if they can, Indiana's going to have to win one of those two games to be in the Big Ten championship. Because if you can't beat, Oregon and Penn State at this point in the season, obviously they play this upcoming week. We'll talk about that later. But those two teams are at the top of the Big Ten. And granted, if Indiana can knock one of them off, they'll be in the Big Ten championship. But if they lose both of those games, I think you'll see Penn State and Oregon in that championship game. Unless Ohio State one of those two teams is going to play Ohio State. Granted, if Indiana can beat either of them or both of them, they'll be in that game.
There's a lot of promise for Indiana right now. That's good to see.
I think last year they didn't pass the eye test. Some people like to say their record was great, but not against great opponents. So a lot of people wanted them out of the playoff, in the playoff because of their record, but then strength of schedule, and it was a big conversation last year. But I think this year Indiana's kind of put those talks to bed, and they've shown that they belong where they're ranked.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they shut that narrative down on Saturday night.
Kurt Sigdetti's got something cooking in Indiana.
Yeah.
And in the NFL this past week, we've got some exciting things to talk about with the Panthers, which doesn't happen a whole lot.
Yeah, well, take these moments while we can.
Gotta milk this one. lots of like this past weekend for the Panthers. I mean, 30-0 win. Usually the Panthers are not putting up 30 points.
It was a unique win to say because Atlanta had over 100 yards more total offense, but yet they didn't get any points on the board. They lost by 30 points. If you look at just the stats of the game without looking at the final score, you would have thought Atlanta dominated, but no. It was quite the opposite.
Carolina found a way. I mean, 30 points, 0 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
We don't see that in the game anymore. They had defensive touchdown, 0 points allowed, 2 interceptions. The defense just showed out this week. They got Michael Penix was benched this week because of the Panthers defense. And we would have thought that usually the Panthers defense is one that people can take advantage of, but not this week. And I'm thinking this could be a turning point in the season. Hopefully they can get things going and put some wins together and kind of stack some wins and maybe not get themselves into the playoff, but make themselves more of a formidable opponent looking forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I still think the playoffs for the Panthers is still a long reach, but hopefully they can get themselves out of the bottom half of the NFL, or I guess bottom 10 of the NFL. Yeah. But yeah, definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, hopefully they can build on this game and move this momentum forward, and hopefully if the defense can continue to play like this and they can get Bryce Young to play in his true form. I mean, McMillan's obviously getting himself going. Leggett hasn't played great this season at all. Yeah. Renfro's getting used to the offense. So if they can get the offense to kind of come into form with those 3 guys, the running game, if the defense can play like this and the offense can figure their problems out, I think this team could definitely win a lot more games than they have been, but I don't know if they're ready for the playoffs quite yet.
Yeah.
And then unexpected start to the season in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Daniel Jones continuing. Who would have thought this coming into this season? Actually playing like the top NFL draft pick he was when he came out of college. I guess he's finally living up to his potential. Got some weapons around him with Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, I did not see this one coming, nor did I don't think anyone else.
If you would have told me Daniel Jones was top of the league in QBR, top 3 in yards, and had the Indianapolis Colts at 3-0 to start the season, I don't know if I would have believed you a month ago. But that's where we're sitting after week 3.
Yeah, anything can happen in the NFL, and Daniel Jones is living proof of that right now.
Any given Sunday, and Indianapolis is one of 5 undefeated teams after week 3. You've got the 49ers, the Chargers, the Bills, the Eagles, and then obviously Indianapolis, the best of them all.
Yeah.
We all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think those teams before the season, obviously Niners, Bills, Eagles were expected. The Chargers were supposed to be great. They usually are top, but I don't know if I expected them to be undefeated for too much longer. Indianapolis definitely came out of nowhere. Who do you think will be the last undefeated team this year?
I mean, out of those, I'd say either Buffalo or Philadelphia. The 49ers kind of surprised me because I think this is their second week playing with their backup quarterback with Mac Jones. Yeah, so kind of surprising to see them still, I guess, in that undefeated tier right now. But yeah, the Eagles have looked really good. The Buffalo has looked really good as well.
Yeah, when you've got an MVP candidate playing quarterback, both those teams, the Eagles and the Bills, obviously Jalen Hurts has a lot more help in the backfield with him. James Cook has been playing great this season, but you can't say anything about Saquon. Obviously, I think he's the best running back in the league, and he has been for a while now, especially since moving to Philadelphia. He's been playing great, and I think the Eagles are my pick to be the last undefeated team. I think they'll go 6 or 7 games before they lose one.
I can see that. I mean, I haven't compared those two teams like schedules, but if on paper, I'd say the Eagles are the better team than Buffalo. So that
Yeah, I think the Eagles have put together a pretty insane roster.
Yeah.
With that offense, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Their offensive line has been great for years. And then you've got that defense they put together. A lot of speed on the defense, which I think is their main strong suit there.
Yeah, and yes, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Jumping from the NFL to the world of basketball, the WNBA. We mentioned it last week that there was potential for this to happen. Sunday it actually happened. South Carolina alumni Asia Wilson winning the fourth WNBA MVP award, makes her the only player in the WNBA history to win that award 4 times. She's got the Las Vegas Aces in the semifinals up against the Indiana Fever, which, I mean, that guarantees a South Carolina alum will be playing in the championship series with Aaliyah Boston on the Indiana Fever. But, yeah, Asia Wilson's looking like basically, she's only, I think, 29 years old, but her resume stacks up there with the best in WNBA history.
Yeah, I think she's going to go down as the GOAT. I think when she's done, I think she'll have 5 or 6 MVPs, and I don't think there'll be any question that she's the best there. And I think you mentioned USC alums going into. I think in women's basketball, it's pretty hard to not have a USC alum.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, they're competing for national championships every single year. Dawn Staley's just built a dynasty over there, and it's hard to compete with that.
Yeah, and hopefully that dynasty keeps continuing as a South Carolina fan.
I don't think it's slowing down anytime soon. They're getting some big name transfers in the offseason as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got the semifinals underway. I believe the finals are in a week and a half.
That would make sense because I think this round is the best of 5 series, and then they go to a best of 7 series. We talked about Indiana and Las Vegas on one side. The other side of the bracket is Minnesota Lynx and the Phoenix team, Phoenix Mercury. Yeah, Phoenix knocked off. I believe it was Phoenix that knocked off the defending champions, the New York Liberty. So, yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see how this plays out. I guess a wide open race right now with the defending champions out.
Yep. And then moving from the hardwood to the diamond, we've got the Major League Baseball playoffs are starting next week. I've got my pick. I think the Yankees are going to take it.
I mean, they're a solid choice. They've played really well this entire season. I don't know the standings off the top of my head, but you can't count out that. I know the Los Angeles Dodgers. You can't count them out with how many good players they got on their team. Coming into I was joking with TJ for MLB standpoint. This is the best news the Atlanta Braves have had all season. That the season is almost over with. It only took them getting eliminated from the playoffs for them to get on a 9-game winning streak. But this has been a down year for sure for the Atlanta Braves, and I guess thankfully it's coming to a close, and hopefully we can rebuild going into next season.
Yeah, hopefully they can take the momentum from the last few games and then get themselves a good draft pick, and hopefully next year they can turn things around.
Yeah. And then jumping from MLB, we'll take this thing international now with the Ballon d'Or into the world of footy, or we call over here soccer. Ousmane Dembele winning the best player in the world trophy, or I guess technically best in European. Cause it's a European award.
Yeah, best in European football. He had a great showing with his national club, with France, and then great all year. Yeah, over the course of the year, because it goes from. It's a calendar year with that award, which is interesting because usually our awards here in America we have seasons.
I think this is the first year that they switched from. So like in years past, they go from January to December, best player of the year. I think this is. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think this is the first year that they switched from like when the season starts in like August to when it ends in. I guess technically this season ended in July.
Yeah, it's interesting to see awards in that sport, whether you want to call it soccer or football, whichever one, because their awards go from international play and teams with their clubs. With Ousmane Dembele played great for both. PSG won the Champions League. They won a treble this year. That means they won their league, they won the Champions League, and then they won an international trophy. And I think when you have a team that can pull something off like that and you're the best player on that team, I think this award's definitely fitting for him.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding for him. I believe his stats, he had like 30-something goals and like 13 or so assists. But he had PSG like PSG was no doubt the best team in Europe this season, and a large part of that is because of him. You mentioned of how many trophies they won. I will throw this out there. There was one trophy they didn't win, which was the Club World Cup. You can make the argument that that's a Mickey Mouse trophy, but I'm going to throw it out there because Chelsea ended up winning that, and that's my team. So I'm going to throw that out there. But he was definitely the best player in Europe this season. And it was interesting to see because obviously you had Yamal as I guess he was the runner-up, the youngster from Barcelona. Barcelona fan, like Dembele coming, I think he made the transition from Barcelona, kind of like an outcast at Barcelona, jumping over. He's been at PSG for several years now, and he's really redefined his career.
Yeah, I mean he was at Barcelona. I don't remember how long he was there, but I know he didn't live up to the hype. He signed a massive contract to go there. They put so much money into him, and then he just didn't live up to it. And then they sent him over to PSG, and he's revived his career, and he's now going down as best player in the world this year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see that, especially because they beat Barcelona in the was it the UCL? Was it the Champions League that they played against Barcelona?
I know the final was who'd they beat?
I think it was a semifinal.
Yeah,
that they
probably
beat
a semifinal.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean his old team didn't even make it to the final, and he won, and then winning this trophy after being kind of ostracized by his old program.
Well, actually, coming into this season, PSG, there was a lot because obviously their best player Mbappe. This was the season he left to go to Real Madrid. PSG, I guess this is their first time ever winning the Champions League trophy. They were long sought after. They always thought that they were right there. I think they made the final before, probably with Mbappe, but they never crossed that hurdle. And the fact that Dembele was able to lead that team to glory after so many years of trying to achieve that.
Yeah, definitely a great season for them, and definitely a great season for PSG as a club with their first Champions League title, and especially Dembele bringing it to them, definitely deserving of this award. Looking ahead to this next week, you've got Clemson and Coastal Carolina are off this week, which I think will be good for both programs. They'll have some time to get some practice in and gear themselves up for the following weeks. I think both teams are desperately needing an off week at this point in the season.
Yeah, this is a great chance for both teams to reevaluate how things are going. Coastal having the momentum, beating South Alabama like they did, having a good spot there. Clemson has a lot of questions that need to be answered during this off week after losing both to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. And I mean, once they come back, they have North Carolina, which is I think a good. As much of when you play in an ACC schedule, I think that's a team that you can look forward to playing because I don't think they should give you that much of a challenge. But, yeah, these next 2 weeks will be crucial for Clemson and how the rest of the season goes forward.
Yeah, both teams going into a bye week with complete opposite viewpoints on the bye week. One team trying to carry momentum in Coastal from that last week's game. Clemson trying to forget about last week's game and turn things around, looking to spin things in a different direction going into their game against North Carolina.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the ACC has looked pretty strong this year, as opposed to previous years in the past. The ACC hasn't been a great conference, and it's almost been who's playing Clemson in the ACC championship over the past 12 years.
Yeah.
Where it's just been who's playing Clemson at the end of the year, and this year Clemson's going to have to fight and claw their way to even get into that game.
Yeah, they definitely have a long uphill battle to get there, and I don't see it because, I mean, they still have to play. They have 2 conference losses right now. They still have Florida State on their schedule, so that's probably a third right there. And they need a lot of chaos before they can even enjoy that conversation right now.
Yeah, they're definitely. I think before the season they were looking at national championship and they were looking at the college football playoff, and now they're probably going to take it week by week and just make sure to focus on each game.
Another game in Columbia this week. South Carolina back at home, playing Kentucky. This is my SEC toilet bowl game right now. We'll decide who the worst team in the SEC is this weekend with South Carolina and Kentucky. Coming into this season, I thought this should be a game that South Carolina has that gets them to 5-0 to consider the playoff consideration. The only thing this team is close to playoff is when I have my TV remote. Wanting to watch this team play. That's the only thing that I think this is a game that South Carolina can win. Kentucky's not really that good either. It's a team that Shane Beamer has normally had the upper hand of, especially after their head Kentucky's Mark Stoops started throwing shade at Shane Beamer. So hopefully the team will be motivated.
I don't know if anybody doesn't have the upper hand on Kentucky at this point in the SEC. This is definitely a good game for South Carolina, though. I think they'll get back on track. This is a home game against an opponent that's supposed to be much lesser than they are. They haven't been great to start the season. South Carolina definitely looking to get back on track in this game. I think if they can get a handed win and get this game taken care of in the first half, get their backups in the second half, and put this one away early, they can carry that on into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, given what I've seen this first, I don't know how much it's actually going to matter this, because their next game they have the next week off and they go on the road to LSU. So I don't know if it'd be nice to see a great win, take care of business, make a very less stressful, but I don't know if that's going to translate well to go on the road to Death Valley.
I don't know if you could do anything to get ready to go on the road to Death Valley. That's a tough place to play for anybody, let alone a team that's not living up to their expectations so far this year, especially with the pass rush that LSU has. I don't know if South Carolina's offensive line can hold up to that.
Yeah, as of right now, South Carolina has two wins of the season. They're only favored in two games of the rest of the season, one of those being Kentucky and Coastal Carolina. Coming into this season, everyone thought they could be a playoff fringe contender. Right now, I guess the goal is to be bowl eligible, because it's hard to look at this schedule and the way that South Carolina's played and see them getting 6 wins right now. I could see them beating Kentucky, and I could see them beating Coastal. That would put them at 4. But I don't know where those 2 other wins could. Clemson may, and then you still have to upset someone, which the way that LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, I don't know.
I think the best shot they've got out of those games, I would think, would be Oklahoma. But Oklahoma's been super strong this year too. John Mateer's been carrying that offense.
Their defense had 10 sacks on Auburn, and given our offense, South Carolina's offensive line problem with that, we may give up 20 sacks that game. I don't know what's going to happen.
Setting records.
Our rushing stats for that game, I don't want to see, because we may be at -40.
-40 rushing yards. So we've got a big weekend coming up in college football. Not necessarily here in the Palmetto State, but across college football. We've got a huge game in the Big Ten and a huge game in the SEC. Starting in the Big Ten, Oregon and Penn State, top 10 matchup. I think that's going to be the game of the week. We've got College Game Day going over there, and that game's going to be an instant classic. I don't think we're going to see anybody pulling away in this game. I'm hoping to see a good game, and I think with Penn State's running game and how high-powered and potent that Oregon offense is, I think we're going to see some fireworks this weekend.
Yeah, I was about to. I don't know if this is the Penn State's whiteout game, but it should be a night game in Happy Valley. 2 teams that are national championship contenders. It should be a really great matchup, and hopefully it lives up to the expectation.
This is going to be a huge game in terms of the New Year's Six Bowls and getting into the playoff and the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Because I think you almost have to win this game in order to get into that game with how tight the Big Ten is. Plus, at this point, Ohio State's going to be in that game. I don't see anybody knocking off Ohio State except for probably Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan somehow finds a way to do it year in, year out.
Michigan will find a way to beat Ohio State, and I think they'll have 1 loss on the season, and then I believe unless Indiana can pull off a miracle against one of these 2 teams, I think we'll see Penn State or Oregon, potentially whoever wins this game will find themselves playing Ohio State in that Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I think this game will be a good test to see who's in that driver's seat. It'll be theirs to lose, I guess, moving forward. But definitely a lot to look forward to in that one.
And then moving over to the SEC, we've got a big game with the same implications. Georgia, Alabama, every year. Especially, last year was probably, I might be biased, but I think that was the game of the year. I don't know what happened. Alabama was up 21 points, I think. They got off to, I believe, a 21-0 lead to start the game. And then Georgia came back. They took the lead at the end of the game. And then Ryan Williams took 75 yards to the house to win the game. I will say I was jumping up and down in my living room during that one.
As you should.
That was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. And especially coming out of a 17-year-old kid from Alabama, it was just great to see. That was a great game, and I think we're going to see another instant classic this year. And I think with how both of these teams have played, it's going to be a great game, and it's gearing up to be another great one.
Yeah, and I think after week 1, I think everyone was joking about Alabama. Are they frauds or whatever? But Florida State has looked like a really great team. So it's not like they had a terrible losing to a bad team to open the season. Alabama, I mean, they've definitely played well since then, and this will be a great test to see where they stand in the national championship contention.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, that loss to Florida State looked really bad, and just as the weeks keep going, Florida State just looks better and better, and that loss is starting to look less and less bad for Alabama. I think this would be a great game for them to turn things around if they can pull off a win in Athens. I don't know if they can pull it off. Georgia's looked great all year. Georgia looks great every year, especially since Kirby Smart's taken over there. And this game would be huge for Kalen DeBoer to get a huge win against Georgia.
Yeah.
To kind of put himself on the map, especially because Tuscaloosa's been grumbling and groaning and moaning about his job, which I don't know if it's quite ready to kick him to the curb yet. But I think this game would definitely be a good opportunity for them to turn things around and prove that they really are the Alabama that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to in that one as well. Some great matchups this weekend. And then jumping from college back to the NFL, Carolina Panthers taking on the New England Patriots. Is it at home or on the road? I'm not sure.
I could be wrong, but I believe it's in Foxborough.
Okay. So, but I know you mentioned it down here. So, battle of two young teams. So, it could go either way.
Yeah, this game's going to be interesting because you've got a lot of young players on the field, as you just mentioned. You've got rookies, you've got second-year guys. Bryce Young's still finding his way. Drake May's still finding his way. And then you've got rookie receivers on both sides. And there's just a lot of young players on the field, so you never know what could happen. This game could be a 60-point blowout. They could both score 50 points. It could be 3-0.
Yeah.
We're not really sure what to expect, especially after last week with the showing that the Carolina Panthers had. I don't know what to expect from that team anymore. They could let up 0 points. They could let up 56. You never know what's going to happen with that team.
This is definitely a winnable game, though. If they play their game like they did against Atlanta, this is definitely a winnable game for the Panthers. We'll see if they live up to that, though.
We'll see if the Panthers can carry that momentum into this week. And I think if the Panthers can get another win this week against the Patriots, they can definitely carry that momentum forward. And I could see them winning 6 or 7 games this year, as opposed to last year, and maybe even creeping into the 500. into right about 500, which at this point doesn't sound like a great record for a team, but with how the Carolina Panthers have played over these past few years, we would be very happy with the 500 record.
I can't even remember the last time they were at 500. But yeah, a lot to look forward to. I guess we'll see you back here next week to break it all down. But until then, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those good things. And until then, we'll be right. We'll see you next week.
See you guys next week. We were probably wrong about all of our predictions, but we'll see you guys next week.